Good morning, everybody, and happy Friday. I know it's not sunny out today, but we're going to have an awesome time on today's episode, and we are going to talk about a lot of important things. Things have been changing for small businesses and real estate, I would say daily for the past couple of months. And our guest today, Brittney, has been on top of getting the information out to her followers, her clients, and helping them through the past couple of months with the pandemic. So, without further ado, I'm going to bring Brittney on, and we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in the world, I guess, with law. So, if you guys have questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. We will do our best to get to them. Hey, Brittney, how's it going?
Good. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm listening to my neighbors. They're like, I don't know, building a pool or something back there, but we're going to ignore all that and we're going to have a great conversation today. So I would love to hear a little bit about your background and why you decided to, get into working in law.
Sure. So, for whatever reason, since I was little, I just decided that I was going to be an attorney. But I don't think I knew what type of law I planned to practice. When I was in college, I had majored in politics and international relations, and I had a minor in philosophy and justice studies. And when I went off to law school, I thought I was probably going to go into something where I would be in court every day and I would be litigating these up and coming topics and hot topics. And when I got to law school, I did do an internship at the district attorney's office in Nassau County. And I also did an internship with a federal judge as a clerk. And from being in both of those positions, I just sort of realized that litigation and court was not for me. I did not want to be in court every day working on motions and trials. And so I sort of re-geared and realized that what I really enjoy doing is running my own business. Since this is my own practice, I am not only an attorney, but I am a small business owner, like the fellow small business owners that I work with. And so I started to focus more on business and intellectual property law, and that transitioned to adding on real estate law as well. It's all contractual based, it's all transactional based, and a lot of writing contracts, negotiating points in contracts. Everybody has that same end goal of either closing on the house if it's real estate, or to finalize their transaction if it's business. So that's sort of how I got into where I am now today.
Awesome. So obviously the world has changed a lot in the last couple of months, and from day one, I saw you and your Instagram, and you were giving everyone updates whenever something would change, whenever something important happened coming down from the lawmakers. And obviously, being a small business owner, I know you're a small business owner, and there's many of us on Long Island. This was the information that we needed at the time to kind of figure out, like, what are we supposed to do? What drove you to make sure that you were that knowledge source for people?
Sure. So I was actually getting a lot of that information from different lawyer organizations that I'm part of. So I'm part of something called iLaw, which is a community of attorneys who pass information back and forth, and also referrals and resources back and forth. And I also was getting some of the information from Long Beach Lawyers Association, which is another attorney group that I'm part of. And so as soon as I would get this information, I knew I wanted to share it with my Instagram followers to make sure that they had it as well. I know a lot of business owners were contacting me. They were very confused. They didn't know if they could be open, if they were able to be open, if they had to put certain restrictions into place. There was also a lot going on with the restaurants. So for the first time in as long as I've been alive in New York, the state liquor authority said that restaurants could begin to do take-out booze, which the restaurants and the general community was, of course, thrilled over. But I do actually and have helped some restaurant owners that are my clients get their liquor their applications in and get their liquor licenses. And so I knew I wanted to get that information out right away and let the restaurant owners know that they had this avenue and opportunity that they've never had before. It's really unique. I also, now that they're reopening restaurants, there's certain guidelines in place. You can do outdoor dining. At least in Long Island, phase 2 starts on Wednesday, but you do need to apply for an application. So there's a handful of restaurants that heard, on a briefing, I think from the governor, oh, we could do outdoor dining, and they started it right away, and then they ended up getting into a little bit of trouble. So I just want to make sure that everybody sort of is seeing what's coming out as it's coming out. In terms of real estate, everybody jumped on the bandwagon right away when they heard that you could start to do virtual notarizations. They said, great, we'll be able to do virtual closings now. Real estate will just continue on just like normal. But that wasn't necessarily the case, because although information that was out there was, yes, you can do virtual notarizations, there were still other aspects of the real estate closing transaction process that were on hold. And so because I was hearing a lot of misinformation and because I was getting a lot of information before the general public, I wanted to make sure that I was sharing it with everybody that follows me on my social media.
I think that's great because, like, for someone like me, like, when I'm listening to like something coming on one of those live streams with the governor or something like that, I'm hearing it, but I can be interpreting it incorrectly. Just like how you said, some of the restaurants, they were like, oh, cool, we can do outdoor seating and we can do this. I think that obviously, like, there's so many different people out there on Long Island, and everyone, like, they have their own understanding of what they think that they're hearing, but having someone to turn to say, like, hey, no, you need to make sure that you go through the right systems and the right channels to get this moving, is a very important thing for people to have. And obviously, there's no one better than a lawyer to tell you what you can and cannot do legally, especially with everything going on with the pandemic. So I think that everyone really appreciates kind of getting the information in the correct way, if that makes sense.
Right. And I will say, even as an attorney, we don't have all the answers, because unlike laws that were established in the past, or cases that have been established in the past where we can look it up and we can get guidance from prior case law, interpretations of these laws, some of these things are coming out for the first time, and much like the general public, we're sort of in the dark about it, but I think we can navigate it a little bit better for the most part than the general public in order to be able to try to assist. If you ask a lot of attorneys, they'll say, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how the judges, if any of these issues go to litigation once everything opens back up. We don't know how they're going to respond to this. It's such a new instance. Yeah, I think it's important. And I also was trying to share a lot of information about the Paycheck Protection Program, which again, at the time, we only knew what everybody else knew, and it changed on a daily basis. It's still changing in some sense. But I was seeing that a lot of the general public was misinterpreting, like you said, what some of what was out there actually meant. So I wanted to make sure I could clarify it, and I was sending out to my clients PDFs, and I was putting together like bullet points of what everything meant in layman's terms. And so I hope I was helpful in some sense.
Yeah, the payment protection plan, I feel like, was one of the things in the past couple of months that baffled so many people, because big organizations also qualified for the PPP plans, and people didn't know if they would be able to get this kind of loan, and with the rules changing so much, and like I thought I saw a headline that it changed again. I feel like it's hard for the small business to kind of keep up with what's going on.
Absolutely. And I did a talk 2 months ago at this point. I have no idea how long we've been in quarantine. Time is just like passing, but I did a talk for the Long Beach Library, and I spoke about the Paycheck Protection Program versus the Economic Injury Disaster Loan and the different moving parts. And the one thing that I had spoken on and hope that everybody took away from it is that the time to get prepared is before a pandemic. A lot of small business owners wait, and I get it because their resources are limited. So they wait to hire an attorney or know an attorney even that they can call if they need something. And they wait to get their papers in order, and they wait to hire an accountant. And what I saw happen is that the businesses who were very well organized, who had all of their paperwork in order already, were able to get that paycheck protection program quickly. And the business owners who were scrambling to look through their books, to find their bylaws, their offering plans, their filing receipts, and all of those different things, missed out, and they probably needed it the most. And they missed out simply because they did not have the information that was required to apply for the loan readily at hand. So I hope that moving forward, a lot of small business owners will take the time to really organize and structure themselves correctly and know where all of their important paperwork is, and to look through it frequently and make sure that they are prepared if there is ever a next time, although of course I hope there's not.
Well, I hope that there's not the next time, because, I know a lot of people have been going through crazy things the past couple of months, between businesses having to figure out things like the PPP plan, people shutting down, people actually getting the virus. So hopefully, there's not another pandemic, but obviously it's not something that's out of the question. And preparation is definitely one of the most important things that people can be doing. Obviously, having a lawyer, having an accountant is really important, but I feel like sometimes people don't really know what to look for, or like what to kind of start that conversation, kind of sounds like. So for someone that's a small business, like what should they be doing, and in terms of reaching out to a lawyer and setting up something and creating that relationship for their business?
Yeah, so I work with a lot of small business owners, and there are plenty of other attorneys on Long Island and in the city that do as well. So they should ask around, ask other business owners in their community that they trust and that they know are doing well, who they work with, if they have recommendations, and reach out to those people and find somebody that's a good fit for you. And then you want to just make sure you have all of your important documents in place. So another important aspect of the Paycheck Protection Program was that period to apply for sole proprietors and anybody who was working on an independent contractor type basis was an entire week after the period for corporations and LLCs to open. And so a lot of people who are putting off forming a real entity, like a separate business entity from themselves, missed out on applying in that first week, which is when all the money went in the first round. Some of them were able to now get money from the second round, but if they hadn't done a second round, they would have missed out completely. So when you go to start a business, believe in your business, believe in yourself. If you have a product or an idea or a service that you want to put into the public, don't wait until you're successful, until you actually form your proper corporation or LLC or other legal entity. Don't wait to speak to an accountant to get your paperwork in order. Don't wait to get business insurance and other important things like that, because if you wait, sometimes it's too late and you've missed the boat to do everything the right way and get in on what you can get in on. So
that makes a lot of sense. And, early on, because obviously, I work doing freelance, I do work with other companies where they subcontract me. I have my clients. And early on, before I even did any of that, my dad, he was like, "Oh, I spoke to Mr. Lasquadro, my dad's lawyer," and he's like, "We got you an LLC. We took care of this," because I was taking pictures at sweet 16s and weddings, and obviously I don't want anything to go wrong at those things, but it was important to have that in order. And so whenever I have someone who's doing freelance, I'm like, hey, you really should, put together an LLC, or I have an S Corp, to make sure that you have some sort of entity that is you as a business. And I love that you brought that up, because that's always one of the first things that I recommend to anyone I run into, because what happens if something goes wrong on a shoot? What happens if one of your lights hits someone? Or what happens if you're at a wedding and your camera breaks? insurance and having like a business like with obviously the state is going to help you a lot, especially if someone's trying to sue you or something, correct?
Right. You want to have that separate protection from you as an individual. And I hear a lot of business owners say, well, I personally don't have any assets, so I'm not worried about them coming after me personally. Even if you don't personally have assets that you're worried about somebody coming after, you still would have to go to court and litigate and spend time and resources. And so if you set it up correctly from the beginning, like you did, and I'm really happy to hear that you actually tell other business owners to do that as well, it's so important. You have a little bit of extra protection than if you're just out there working under your own name on your own. So yeah, it's very important. And another aspect is having contracts in place. That has been something that is buzzword during these times because everybody is wondering what happens with the contracts that they do have in place. So for instance, let's say you have a contract, a service contract with a client, and you were supposed to do a shoot during this time frame and you were prevented from doing it. A lot of people are wondering, do I have contract language that actually protects me? Can I keep the down payments that sometimes clients put onto projects, even if you can legally? Does it make sense for you as a business owner? So I've been dealing with a lot of those issues as well during these times. And then there's some people who have no contracts at all. And so they're wondering, what do they do if they just had like a verbal agreement with somebody in place and they don't know if they still need to perform, if they need to return money that was given to them. You want an attorney that you can speak to on those topics as well.
Yeah, that's really important. And me and Eric were actually talking about, putting together new contracts last night. So I totally agree because there has been many a time where I've done verbal contracts and, not many a time, but like enough that have, had a client that takes months to pay me because there was no deadline on that, even though I sent an invoice and I didn't really have the grounds to do anything about it. Hey, you said you were going to hire me to do this. Like, you guys owe me money. So having contracts in place with like, hey, this is the date rendered. Hey, this is when like you have to pay, and making sure that you have coverage for, if someone doesn't pay you, or coverage if they change a bunch of stuff on you at the shoot or on whatever job it is. So yeah, contracts 100% are super important. But we might be in touch in the near future. But I want to circle back to what's going on like with real estate right now, because I know you're helping people with real estate, and I know that there's been changes to the process. There's been changes throughout the past couple of months, but where are we right now in terms of like what people can be doing? Are people able to, go through the entire process right now? Are there certain parts that are slower? What's going on legally with real estate?
So real estate is probably the largest portion of my business personally, and it has been crazy. It's still going, but it is completely different than what it was like prior to all of this taking place. And one aspect of that is because the realtors are not allowed to do in-person showings. They're not allowed to do open houses. And so a lot of people were super concerned that that was going to just completely crush the industry and that there would not be any home sales during this time. That has not turned out to be the case. What I have found personally is that there are a ton of people who are still looking to purchase, and they're willing to do a virtual walkthrough. They're willing to sort of wait or put terms into their contract that permit them to actually see the house once the guidelines reopen and allow them to re-see the house. And these people are strong buyers. They are able to sometimes get a deal, sometimes not, because they're putting their offer on a house sight unseen. But yeah, no, we're still going. There's a lot of people coming from the city who are looking for Long Island homes, and it's still really, really busy. And actually, starting in phase 2, realtors are allowed to partially go back to work. And so that will even change things further and help us get back to where we were. But some of the differences that have taken place are, one, the realtors have to do virtual showings. They cannot do the in-person showings. They cannot do the open houses, which made some buyers not comfortable to move forward and some sellers not comfortable to move forward. There's a lot of other regulations in place for the realtors. They were not permitted to show up to final walkthroughs, which is a big part of the transaction. They're not allowed to show up to closings to pick up their check. So we were dealing with all of those things. And then in terms of the legal side of it, I already did a lot of my work as an attorney virtually or electronically. And so prior to all of this taking place, I was already emailing contracts to my clients, doing Zoom or phone call introductions, and reviewing contracts with my clients via phone and email, having them sign electronically or doing signature and just send me back the signature pages. I was doing all that already and I was very comfortable with it. So this is just a continuation of it. What I've seen is that some attorneys who were not working that way, and this was the first experience that they've had in working in that manner, it's become very difficult for them, which then makes it difficult for the whole transaction because we each have a part to do and rely on each other. So I've been trying to help other attorneys navigate, if I'm on the transaction with them, like this is how you use PDF, this is how you use DocuSign, explaining to them that you can open a document on your phone and use the pen app and sign that way even. So I've been trying to assist where I can because it makes the process and our end goal, which is to get to the closing table, happen for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of other issues we've been dealing with, other than just getting people into contract, is issues with building departments being closed, or if they're open, they're only open working on a skeleton staff and not letting anybody in, or you have to have appointments. And so although you can get into contract and although you can do a closing, the in-between process has also become more difficult. So for a while, we were having trouble getting back what's called municipal searches, which is a part of the title report. A lot of people who might have had open permits that needed to close out their open permits with the building department. Perhaps they had violations even. The building inspectors were not working, and so you could not close those out either. People who needed to apply for certificates of occupancy were being prevented from doing that. We're still seeing that happening in some of the municipalities, although it is getting a little bit better as they start to gradually open or work at higher staff capacity. With mortgages, for a while, appraisers were not going out, home inspectors were not going out, and so we were navigating around that. The process to obtain your mortgage was taking a bit longer. I think the biggest issue, though, aside from all of those issues that I've seen in my real estate transactions, is people being furloughed. And so as a buyer, you get into contract and perhaps, 30, 45 days later, you're expected to have your mortgage commitment from your lender, and you either get it and then you get furloughed, or right before you're about to get it, you get furloughed, and your lender can no longer lend to you if you're no longer employed. And so there's been a lot of back and forth between parties navigating what happens when somebody has been furloughed. Does your contract still stand? Are you going to litigate over it? Although you can't litigate right now, you had to wait until courts reopen. So there's been a lot of back and forth there, and that's been very difficult. A lot of upset officers who are frantically calling me that they were furloughed, they don't know what they're going to do, they don't want to lose their down payments, they really want the house and they really want the mortgage. A lot of sides have been working together, cooperating, pushing out deadlines, giving extensions, waiting for them to come back to work, because we hope that eventually they will come back to work when things reopen, and keeping the contracts in place. And unfortunately also had a handful of sellers who passed away during this time period. They were elderly, and a lot of them were moving out of their homes in the first place so that they can go to, or they were already in, nursing homes. When you pass away in the middle of your contract, sometimes you have to now go through different process. You have to work with a state attorney, and those courts were closed down. Surrogates court was closed down. So it really has been at every step of the process a struggle, but we are able to get it done. At this point, I have probably closed 15 to 20 transactions during being on lockdown. Some of them have been done virtually, where someone's standing outside of the homeowner's house on a cell phone, but watching them sign documents on their porch. I've done closings in parking lots, sitting on top of my car, signing papers on top of cars. I've done them in office buildings, but where everybody is sitting in like a different room. So we're getting them done. It's just a lot more stressful than it was in the past, but it is definitely possible.
Well, I'm glad to hear that things are possible, and I'm glad to hear that people are getting through the process, because if everything was at a standstill, there would be many people looking for homes. And you mentioned that a lot of people are trying to get out of the city, which makes a lot of sense right now because it's very concentrated with people there, and they're stuck at home. They're stuck at home for like the pandemic, and like when you're stuck in a small apartment, you may want to go somewhere where you have a little more room but are still accessible to work in Manhattan, which is obviously Long Island, Jersey, or just upstate. So I'm glad to hear that there's some movement with people and that they can actually move forward with some of their transactions. Real quick, just because your camera froze a couple times, would you mind refreshing your browser so I can make sure that, we go nice and smoothly, and then we will continue on from there. So we will have Brittney back in a second. So if you guys are joining now, we are talking a little bit about, obviously, what goes on with small business and what goes on with real estate. We have Brittney back now. Hey, welcome back. No worries. We're going through Wi-Fi, we're going through the internet, and sometimes either microphones or like video lags a little. So let's hop back into you were just talking about all of the different ways that you guys have been doing closings for real estate, even though it's kind of the complete opposite of like what people typically do. Everyone goes around the big table and everyone signs, and you've been doing things on cars, you've been doing things on porches, and I think that it's a testament to being creative in terms of like how to get people to finish this process, even though like we have to socially distance and we have to make sure that we kind of follow the regulations so people don't get sick. So I think that's really cool that you guys have found different ways to have that round table moment where you have that closing.
Yeah. A lot of people have been calling them like curbside closings.
Mm-hmm.
Drives up to one spot and everyone's in their car, so everyone's curbside, playing on like the restaurant curbside pickup. So yeah, I mean, it's been really crazy. It takes a lot of pre-preparation to do them this way. That was not necessarily the case for when you all sat around that big round table, like you said. When everybody was able to just sit around the big round table, a lot of things were discussed at the table or perhaps drafted at the table. You have to have every aspect of the transaction taken care of ahead of time when you do closings this way. So, it's made me become a lot more organized and working a lot harder. What used to take maybe like an hour to do takes 3 hours to do now, but it's worth it. So many homeowners were like, we need to hurry and rush to close. God forbid we get furloughed, like we need to close right now. And so I've been doing my best to accommodate as many people as possible and not to let these deals fall apart, get them all back on track, and to make sure that they're actually closing, except just not at the big round table. And everybody's been really helpful. Everyone's been working together. You have people who are volunteering to pick up checks and deliver documents elsewhere. I do some work as a bank attorney as well. And so if I'm bank attorney, I am pre-dating dating the documents and putting stickies everywhere that's like, sign here, sign here, sign here. Because I know that the buyer's attorney might not be in the same room with the buyer. And although they're explaining the documents to them, I don't want them to have to explain the documents plus explain to them where to sign through a phone. So if I put sign here, it makes the process easier. Everybody's really just been cooperating. That's what it takes to get it done.
Yeah, that's a really good point that you bring up, because you have to prep everything. Not for lack of a better word, you need to make it so like accessible that you don't have to have someone sitting right next to them pointing at the different areas on those contracts. And yeah, that does take time, because I've had to break down like a video shoot to someone before. Like I've had to explain how we do all of the different things, and the amount of time that it takes to explain something rather than to just do it is a lot more, and it takes a lot of effort. And you're right, something that may take an hour previously might take 3 hours, because you can't physically sit there and go, okay, you need to check this box, you need to initial here, you need to do this, you need to do that. And it is something that we have to adapt to in current times, but hopefully, things change in the next weeks, months, whatever it may be, so that we can have that big roundtable moment again, for obviously real estate and other business transactions as well.
Certainly hope so. We might still have masks on at the big round table, but I hope we can get at least to a big round table. But, I will say the one thing I hope doesn't change is how cooperative everybody has been with one another. That has really been like a shining star through all of this craziness, is just the level of cooperation and understanding that people have displayed during this time.
Yeah, I definitely have seen it all over, where people are helping out where they can. I've seen it on social media like Facebook. I've seen people either volunteering knowledge or volunteering to help people, or saying, hey, let's build a community and we'll all help each other, which I think is really important and may not happen every day. But since everyone is kind of separated and they have to make the best of the situation, I think that it's great that people are stepping up and doing their part to help, because everyone could be very isolated, very me in this kind of situation, but there's a lot of people out there that are helping. Like you said, people are volunteering to drop off paperwork. People are volunteering to even go grocery shopping for people. Like there's so many people trying to help these days, and it's amazing.
I agree. I mean, even what you're doing with all of these different segments might not have been something that you would have done prior to all of this. I don't know if I'd be on, you know what I mean? So I do feel like although we're in isolation, I've been connecting with more people in different ways than I was.
I mean, you probably still would have been on at some point, because we're in the same networking group, and I didn't want to bother you too early in the process, just because I knew you were super busy, and I knew you
would have been like doing something more face to face.
Well, when things go back to normal, I'll probably have you on again and actually have us sitting next to each other and having a discussion. Yes, you could come and you can partake in the lighting. I actually want, would you mind checking let's check the audio with the phone, because you are getting real low in terms of audio, and I want to make sure that we get the rest of this conversation a little better. I think it's the microphone. Say something real quick.
Is that better?
Yes, that's actually better. Perfect. So yeah, we'll make sure that we have you on, and we'll have you under the nice lighting like I have, and we'll make it happen. So I wanted to ask you, what could I know that business owners is one of the things that is under, I guess, your practice. So for people who are business owners right now, what are some things that they should kind of be thinking about with things reopening? I know that there's phases with reopening, but what do they really need to know right now, if that makes sense?
So you definitely want to make sure that you're complying with any regulations. If you're not in phase 2, then you shouldn't open during phase 2. I understand everybody wants to open. We all want to get out there. We all want to get back to normal. But I'm always cognizant and thinking of the repercussions in terms of, if you're a business that has a license, for instance, a restaurant, and you open prematurely, is it worth having your perhaps liquor license and your other licenses to operate revoked, and then you can never operate again? Probably not, right? So making sure that everybody is following the guidelines and not opening before they're actually permitted to open. And then once you do open, following the guidelines for social distancing and keeping the regulations in place, and obviously having mechanisms for how you clean and keeping things sanitary, and if you require people to wear masks or not, and how far apart they're sitting and things like that. So that's really important. And then again, I encourage everybody to really look at what they have in place in terms of their documents. And I've seen people who have an operating agreement for their LLC that has 5 people on it that are no longer members, haven't been members in 10 years. Make sure you update your documents and that you stay very active in your business, not just on your day-to-day operations of your business, but the back of house business stuff that none of us like to do, but it's so necessary.
That like I said, that is a really important thing earlier. I am reinforcing your point. Make sure that you guys have updated paperwork. Make sure that you guys, obviously, you had a good point. If someone's not in charge anymore, make sure that you have your name and whoever is currently working there's name on the paperwork. I know that there's phases for opening up. What was phase 1 and what is phase 2? I know that there's multiple phases, and that if one of them has a spike, we're going back a phase or back to the beginning. But what is an example of the things that were in phase 1 and the things that are now going to be available in phase 2?
So I don't want to act like I know per se. Yeah. I'm not super knowledgeable about it, but if you go to the Governor website, it lays out everything that's phase 1. But and one, for instance, from phase 1 was construction, so long as you could practice it in a socially safe manner. Mm-hmm. And that actually greatly benefited the real estate industry, because a lot of us were waiting and not able to close on transactions because we needed somebody to get in there and do some construction and fix something before we get to the closing table. Mm-hmm. So the project was midway through, and then they had to stop. So that was really helpful for the real estate industry. So from phase 1, I know construction. Mm-hmm. Thankful for that. Phase 2, I only sort of know what affects, again, my industry and my clients. And so in phase 2, real estate is coming back for the realtors, but in limited capacities. The realtors actually have a really great source of information. It's called NISAR, and they log on there, and they've been promulgating and putting up different instructions and best practices this entire time. So that'll be another really great for them. And then restaurants, outdoor only.
Gotcha. I think that it's really important for everyone to obviously check the website, but that's really good insight to see what kind of businesses qualify. I think that it's going to be a kind of a crawling process for obviously everyone to open up. And I know other states have had other ways of opening up, but I think that for health reasons, please, this is me saying to business owners, please follow the guidelines. Please follow, if you are supposed to space everyone out, make sure you're cleaning, because obviously this is something that we want to take care of the first time in terms of the pandemic. We don't want to have another giant spike and then kind of go back to the drawing board and have to figure this out all over again. Because as a small business owner, and you probably can vouch for this, we went through one pandemic, and there's a lot of us business owners still here. But, there might, if there's another spike in this pandemic, there might be business owners that might not still be having their business able to run or have their business able to open again. So this is my plea to everyone to make sure that you follow the rules and let's beat this all together. So we've talked a little bit about real estate. We've talked a little bit about small business. We've talked a little bit about a bunch of different topics within this. You're getting a phone call because I know you're a very busy person. Is there anything else that you think that people should kind of know within the next couple of months, the next couple of weeks, that would benefit them?
So I've been noticing that the people who have taken,
no problem.
I have noticed that the people who have taken steps to innovate have done well. Obviously, they're not doing what they were doing before the pandemic. Nobody expects that. But those who have taken steps to innovate and to stay really present and to help others and connect with others have done better than those who haven't. And so I hope we hold on to that. I've seen a lot of really creative ideas coming out from these different businesses. And it's so great, in this time of struggle, they're actually coming out with these great new ideas. And, the bike shop that repurposes and starts making PPP. And, the restaurant that says, you know what, we're going to go out and get a truck and then we'll bring food to people. That's so great to see everybody innovating and working together. And so during the next upcoming months, I hope we continue on those trends. I've also seen, and, obviously I'm an attorney, but I'm active on my social media. I have an Instagram page. I have a Facebook page. I'm much more active on my Instagram page, my business law page, than my Facebook one, but I'm getting there. But people who have been super active in terms of their businesses on social media have also been doing well. You have a captive audience. People are sitting home. They're bored. They want to learn new things. They want to see new places. They want to experience new things from their phones, from their laptops. So the more you can socialize over these streams of social media, the better. I think that will continue as well.
I definitely agree. And that is why we are here on a live stream right now, so that we can get some people some information and, give them something to watch in the middle of their Friday. So Brittney, I would love for you to tell people how they can get a hold of you if, they need help with their small business and if they need help with their real estate transactions. I know I have a couple of your links in the description, but what is the process of which they can work with you?
Sure. So the best way to reach me for the most prompt reply is via email. So I can give you my email if you want to send it out, or I can put it in the chat or whatever is best.
You can say it and I'll put it up real quick.
Sure. It's Brittney, Brittney, at Borruso, BORRUSO law.com. That's the best way to get in touch with me. It comes to my phone. I'm always checking it. If I don't see it right away, I absolutely will get back to you because it's there. People can also call me, but again, if you email me first, then we can schedule a phone call. That way I'm certain that I have you on my agenda for the day and I have enough time to discuss whatever it is that you need to discuss. You can follow me on Instagram, Borruso Law, or Facebook, also Borruso Law. I try to post, like you said, helpful information, and then also what I'm doing in my day. Like my most recent post, I am signing paperwork for a closing on the hood of my car, so you can sort of see what's going on in my day-to-day work life. So Facebook, Instagram, email is the best way if you have questions or you need to have a consultation. I do a free consultation. And if you're looking to hire an attorney to purchase or sell a property, co-op, condo, 1 to 4 family home, or you need somebody to help you with your business, you can give me a call. And if I can assist you, I will always try my best to refer you elsewhere. I do not practice every type of law. other considerations or factors might prevent me from assisting everybody. But I will always try to send you to somebody else that you can call to get assistance.
Awesome. So, like she said, here's the email, Brittney@borrusolaw.com. And I agree with you with the email first, because I always like to know what I'm going into for a phone call. Because, some people are like, I want to set up a one-on-one. And then you're like, okay, what are we talking about in this one-on-one?
Right.
So that is a very, very good point. So I want to thank you so much for coming on here today. I know we had a couple of technical issues with like the video skipping at one point, but obviously we took care of it, and we will definitely have you on when we can have some in-person shows so we can make you look nice and pretty with the lights.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And thank you everybody for listening.
No problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull you off of here real quick. I am going to close up the show, and if you can wait around for a second, I will thank you off screen. All right. So thank you to Brittney for taking the time to speak with us today. I know that figuring out things with small business right now and real estate can be a little confusing, but having people out there who are keeping up to date with all of the regulations, keeping up to date with all of the different things going on in our legal world right now are super important, and Brittney is doing an amazing job with that. If you guys would like to watch this episode from the beginning, you guys can watch it here on the Celia Werner Productions page. You can watch it on YouTube. You can watch it on, well, not watch, but you can listen to it on Spotify podcasts. You can listen to it on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts and SoundCloud. And if I find anywhere else, it'll definitely be there. So I hope that you have a great weekend, everyone, and I look forward to seeing you guys again on Monday. Bye, guys.